focus is going to work in this dim light. One bugle wonder. Whew, that feels good to sit down. It's up at 3:30 this morning. And 3:30 this morning, buddy might pick me up, excuse me, and off we went. I don't know how far away we went. I'm thinking probably, I don't know, 75, 80, 89 kilometers along logging roads towards the west central coast of Vancouver Island. And we went looking for Roosevelt elk. And didn't see one. Put in a good solid effort. We went all the hell over the place. Hiked into the timber. I think I took some video today. Yeah, I took some video first thing in the morning. We were up in the top of this mountain, side of a mountain in the dark, and I let out a ripper bugle down to the valley. And one bull knee jerked and screamed back from within cover down the river below, and that was it. And I set up the camera and bugled again, and he shut up. Didn't want to play. Whatever. But I did hear well, I don't even know why I share it, but heard a pretty significant noise down there in the timber in another spot. It was dead quiet. I mean, the forest was dead frickin' still. It was still and quiet everywhere I went today. It's okay, settle down. Gross. Mommy's away. He's freaking out. Griffin is the little dog. Take it easy. We're on video here, buddy, all right? Mommy's coming home soon, okay? So anyway, I was moving and I had a different material jacket on, you know, and it scrapes in your face, and my ears are ringing non-stop anyways, it is. So but what I heard was, I thought it was a rifle shot, but it wasn't a rifle shot, it wasn't echoing. I thought, well, maybe it's a 22. But the branch that broke, something broke down there, it sounded like a freaking gunshot. Okay, quit it, go on, go on. Can't stand whiners. Human or canine, nobody whines. I heard that, and it was definitely something else to hear that sound down there. My buddy heard it, he was inside the truck. But anyway, moving along. See what I mean? You hear a weird sound in the woods, you share it, big deal. He just found a rat trap. Whoops! Right on the end of his little snubby nose. Okay, sorry about that. Oh my god. Where was I? Yeah, hearing funny noises in the woods. And he's a French bulldog, so he doesn't have much of a snout for that thing to grab, but I guess it probably got him a little bit. So anyways. Yep, I'm a cold ass. Whatever. So carried along and found some pretty cool places, hiked into some mature timber that never been logged before, and followed the trails and left some trail cameras in there, and had a full day. Anyway, so I'm back. I don't know what time it is, 6:30 or something, and I have got to go leave at 10 o'clock to drive an hour and a bit to pick Sarah up at the airport. So, instead of going and having a nap, which I'm real shitty at napping, I'm not good at it. I'm going to get some emails shared. For sure, I can do that right now. Now, where was this? All right, listen to this one. marked as red. Read this yourself first, then decide whether to share it. Animals dropped into the lake in UFO sighting. From video titled, "Look at what I caught on camera today and listen to these voices," October 15th, 2022. Read this to yourself before you decide to share it. You can always use my name. The animal mutations, cattle and whatever else, are deposited in that way if they are first brought up into the ship. Excuse me. Some are mutilated on the ground, but it seems that practice was too risky, so now it is done on craft. A group of workers planting trees down by Mount Adams, Washington State, witnessed a herd of elk. Over the next ridge, the workers were above, and the herd was moving off scared. A craft came into view from the left and went over the herd, lifting one elk up into the craft as it moved away, while lifting the animal. Witnesses were around 10 people. I've heard that story numerous times, including I've heard it from Dave Plattis as well. As a UFO researcher, I have scoured over tens of thousands of reports. Something I kept coming across were people witnessing Sabe stepping out of lighted areas into fields, pastures, and neighborhoods. I understand that the craft can transport beings and people up and down to the ground using some sort of technology. It is common. So, was this that technology of a portal in which the Sabe stepped out of? Could be either. But the light suggests it was UFO involved. Now let's consider that people witness Sabe in UFO craft when they are brought aboard one. Often they are working in some capacity. Okay, so there has been a group of scientists that have seen a Sasquatch exit a portal. Yeah, they watched it exit the portal and booked off into the forest. I've heard that basically direct from the source. Because I've researched both Sabe and UFO realms and have used both recent and deep histories with focus on human military aspects that tend to be the focus of UFO attention, I can tell you with some authority that some Sabe are from the deep past, as in Earthbound, and some are from recent times and are not truly part of our deep history. With UFO abductions, animal mutations, reported hybrid human-like beings, unrelated to Sabe, and the vast numbers of reported bipedal animal hybrids, such as dogmen and others. I can tell you that certainly there are some animal hybrids that have survived the ravages of time and are from our deep past, and some are more recent genetic creations, likely beings here with an agenda, and the other operations such as animal mutations and abductions resulting in other human hybrids as part of that agenda. We have consistent and widespread in the global sense genetic alterations taking place, of which include Sabe and large animal bipedal hybrids, as well as human hybrids, as a mix between us and another bipedal race. Add that to the mix to complete secrecy and hidden agendas of current governments in the world seemingly working in unison. Are these two connected in some way? In recent times, I've come across evidence that universities in the US are working on some of the large bipedal animal hybrid creation like dogmen and others. I have not verified it yet, but source is good. I have another source on the Kandahar giant incident, a military source who was there first hand. This was a true Nephilim event. I still do not have solid enough evidence to state that Sabe are either Nephilim descendants or some other similar creation. This is why I started pounding on the genetic research done to date. Sabe and Dogman share base genetics, unknown double and single-strand nuclear DNA paired with human mitochondrial DNA. Why is this important? Is that it shows a very specific genetic engineering formula that was utilized across different giant creations. Dogman indicates the addition of domesticated dog, not wolf or some other wild canids, on top of the base double/single strand nuclear mixed with human mitochondrial DNA. It's all formulaic. It also appears that humans are now effing involved in this agenda. Idiots. You might think that I have my own understanding of the situation that is not in line with what you're getting from your sources who are scientists, and therefore maybe I'm getting something wrong. What I say next is important, so please pay attention. The basis for my research is historical records. It takes a long time to even begin to understand what the hell those records are saying because it is so foreign to us. And it seems like it has to be made up for the most part because it is so weird. You know that our history has been rewritten. You've indicated that many times. It has. That is part of the reason the records are so difficult to assimilate. There are also stylistic interpretations, that have further obscured the original context and intent of the records. Dump on top of all that the fact that many of these records were intentionally destroyed, leaving the concept of continuity in the ditch. A world institution is prominently responsible for this. We have a broken historical record lacking continuity. Sorry, I'm so tired right now, you guys. I'm struggling. I'm going to do it. Whole chapters obscured and obfuscated. And the public gets a history version that is agenda-oriented and is sanitized in a way that leaves out everything that happened that left us with these hybrids we encounter today that are from the past. Throw on top of that mess a new agenda we're now in the middle of right now that introduces a new version of these hybrids and seems to be involving governments and institutions in its wake. The people in the institutions, the scientists, generally really don't know what is behind the programs they're involved in, whether by choice or otherwise. Reread that last sentence. It is effing critical. All right, I'm going to do it right now. The people in the institutions, the scientists, generally really don't know what is behind the programs they are involved in, whether by choice or otherwise. Steve, in 30 plus years I've been involved in these studies. I have had the company of many prominent researchers. Many of them were very high-level scientists. Many worked on highly classified programs, and many worked with entities such as NASA. Excuse me. I will not bring names into this. Early on, I wanted to know what the hell was wrong with the scientific community that made them the problem in the realm of UFO research rather than the solution. I had this debate over and over again with these individuals. Lots of wine was poured. Yeah, I was working it hard, get their brains relaxed and spill the beans. I worked hard to get answers on my own and zero acknowledgement from their kind. I'm not looking for accolades, I'm trying to educate. I never went to the various UFO conferences and all that shit. I am as obscure as I can stay. I like it that way. I hold myself accountable for getting it right and don't have the public breathing down my neck when I have a misstep. And there were many. Ah, shit, I do it all the time, man. It's easy. People shit on you and you carry on going forward. It's all good. Harmless. There are institutions in the world who keep our history the way it is. Agreed. The religious institutions began it all because control is easily accomplished when theocracy is mixed with governance. Reread that one too. Okay. There are institutions in the world who keep our history the way it is. Religious institutions began it all because control is easily accomplished when the theocracy is mixed with governance. Gotcha. You want to split the population to get people focused on each other rather that what you are up to, so you get the scientific / academic community going after something big like evolution, which is real to the extent necessary to make it valid. And then on the theocratic side, you have creationism. Nothing could be further apart. You have just created the split you need, and guess what? Both are correct. Today we have hyperdivision. If your left nostril is 1 millimeter larger than your right, you are different than the next guy. Everything you say is offending someone, so don't say it. You get this idea. Everything I have written here is connected. The institutions of the world have been used for an agenda. The scientist sources the scientist sources you have probably are not aware of the bigger picture. If they are, that is great. I applaud them wholeheartedly. But remember, they were being used. So treat their information accordingly. It is completely up to you, Steve, whether you are interested in discussing this further. I'd like to give you some tools to work with and interject a way for you to see how it is all connected and related. One last bit. Humans have always had positive oversight by a group called the Watchers. I am of the opinion they utilize craft in their work, and they are not from Earth. The Watchers are not the only ones here. There are other agendas. The group of Watchers that brought this all on, everything discussed in this correspondence, were the fallen ones. Whether you place whether you place theocratic importance onto that is not important. What is important is to understand it from the concept of the earth, the presence of humans on the earth, the dominion we had be given, and the fact that this group of Watchers wanted it all for themselves and consider us in the way, and always have. I can take that all the way if you're interested. It absolutely applies to the bullshit we see playing out in the world right now. As for the F's, so-called leaders, we are being asked to tolerate. I have stories there too. Stories and real history. Steve, there's a more direct way to contact you. Please consider sharing that with me for the future. Many blessings to you and your family. Rob Duval. All right, Rob, there's a chunk. There's a mouthful. Appreciate your time. And hopefully I will remember. I'll give you a route to me. More direct for sure. And you can share. And I encourage you to share everything you can with me. And know that I'm going to share with all the people. Okay? And obviously people that ask me not to share some items, I don't share them. And I won't. But I am all open. I want to listen to everybody, especially people that have been doing shit piles of due diligence on their own. And I want to hear what you've learned. I want to hear it, no matter what. And so there you go. So share more with me, please. And yeah, the gentleman that I'm about to share some items from, they've come a long way. They have a lot to share. And like they said to me previous, how the F am I going to share this publicly? And how am I going to do it? I'm going to share it the exact same way they shared it with me, with absolute honesty and confidence, and with a take from it what you will or leave it attitude. And I assure you, these people have a F the man attitude at this stage of the game in their careers, their age, what they know, what they've learned. And we are all on the same page, that's for sure. So, moving along. That was a good chunk of words for everybody to chew on, right? Right? And we're going to hear more from this man. And we're going to share more. And we're going to learn as much as we can together. Sooner than later. What's this one? Excuse me, this is a book and a half. I think I'm too cross-eyed to take it on right now. I'll save that. That happened yesterday, the last time I came on here too, and here's the other one that I marked as number 1 because it was so long and I had to start at the top of the list, and I just can't do it right now. I am too frickin' tired, you guys. Alright, what's this one? This one's not too bad. This is in size. The only way I'm picking this is just from the size. I don't know what's in it as usual, and it's just the size and the time that I got, how smooth I'm reading, and I feel like I'm about to fall apart. So, a sighting and some PTSD insight. Hello, Steve and members of the round table. I think I might be able to add a piece to our puzzle, but first my story. This might be a long email. You've been warned. Bring it. My name is Bob. I'm currently living in the beautiful Bitterroot Valley in western Montana, right up against the largest wilderness area in the lower 48. I've been here for 20-ish years and love it here. I grew up in several state parks in California as my dad is a park ranger. These included Big Bear State Park in the mountains of Southern California and the Redwood State Park in the far northwest California in the coastal redwoods. Not all that far from where Patty is filmed. My dad retired and we moved to Lawson County near Susanville. And my dad built a house on 20 acres bordering Forest Service land in the Sierra Nevada mountains, just over the hills from Mount Lawson and Mount Shasta volcanoes. I spent every free minute I had roaming around in those mountains, camping, fishing, and hunting. When I was 11 years old, I had my one and only true sighting. I had no idea what I saw, only that it was not anything I'd ever learned about before. It was 1985, and we only had 2 TV stations growing up, excuse me, but hardly ever watched anything anyway. Some friends and I were going for a walk up the mountain behind my house just after a thunderstorm came through. That beautiful smell that happens right after a rain on a hot summer day was interrupted by an awful smell, a wet, dirty dog, and a skunk-like mix. The sandy soil there was great for tracks and it was damp from the rain, but would quickly erase them as it dried out. We started seeing large footprints that looked like human barefoot tracks, but slightly different. The brush in this area was tall. We called it buckbrush. It was almost like evergreen, scrub pine, but a little more on the brush side, not tree-like. Oak and pine trees were in the areas around, but the thick pine started just up the hill. The brush was 8 feet tall, consistently. All of it was almost the exact same height. I thought I heard something up ahead, so I scrambled up a granite boulder next to the trail that was also about 8 feet high. I looked up the trail and could clearly see the head and shoulders of something above the 8-foot brush walking away. It was dark charcoal gray / black and hair covered. It never turned around. It just walked away into the timber. I watched it for about a minute. That's a long time, a minute. That's ages, actually. It took us 5 minutes to cover the same distance walking. It wasn't until a couple years later that I was watching In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy, and they did an episode on Bigfoot that I realized what I saw. I told my mom, and she, to my surprise, believed me. My mom was an ER nurse, kind of an old hippie, like true 60s hippie, not today's wannabes. She was very open-minded to pretty much anything, including UFOs and unknown creatures. Over the years, I had many other weird things happen to me in the woods, getting paced step for step, going up a trail and coming back down to find a 20-foot pine tree pulled up by the roots and laying across the trail. Chunks of dirt still falling off that root ball. Trees pushed over, and one particular north-facing slope here in Montana that I physically cannot make myself go into. I want to bow hunt it so bad, but every cell in my body makes me stop every time I try. I don't argue with it. Now for that puzzle piece. I grew up wanting to follow my dad into law enforcement, but got sidetracked and ended up in the medical field. I was a paramedic on both ground ambulances and helicopters for 15 years. Then went back to school and became a respiratory therapist, so I got to stay in a nice cozy hospital. During my time as a paramedic, I saw some horrible things. Things that gave me nightmares for years. Death had become routine. I could spend an hour trying desperately to save someone only to fail, then immediately go get lunch. However, the real change in my life didn't come from the front row seat to death. On 3 separate occasions, I ended up in situations where I knew I was going to die and had time, even a few seconds, to ponder that fate and accept it. Yeah, that sucks. I've somewhat been there a few times, sort of, in a way, but didn't die. These were not the being scared by something, the close calls. No, these were times when I knew there was no way out and I was going to get killed. Obviously, I got out of the situations, but I have only God to thank for that because I don't understand how I survived. This led to severe PTSD and my journey from truly planning suicide to finding the right counselor who uses EMDR, the only true treatment for PTSD that doesn't use mind-altering drugs, to healing and leaving the medical field altogether. Something inside of you changes when you face death, I'll say. Whether it's someone growing up in a violent situation, domestic abuse, military/war, whatever, when the human mind processes the oncoming death, something in that mind, or maybe the either around that, something in that mind, or maybe the either around that person changes. I've noticed that a large majority of your emails you read are from people who came from experiences that could very well lead them to getting a head-on look at death. People who graduate from that brush with death are forever changed. You have no tolerance for bullshit anymore. You have an insatiable appetite for knowledge, real knowledge, not washed, cut, and edited mainstream bullshit. We can also meet someone else who graduated from death school and recognize them instantly. The veil is lifted, the curtain pulled open, and there's no going back for us. I believe this also allows us to recognize these encounters with these beings and not pass it off as a bear or a guy in a suit. We see real for real, no more filters. I hope this makes sense. It made total sense in my head, and I felt compelled to send it to you. Sounds frickin' interesting to me as I nod my head in agreement with you while reading it. You have done wonders for us graduates of the school and the Club of No Return, but in that process you have made yourself a target. Just know that there are thousands of us willing to stand with you and fight. And if you're ever in need of shelter in Western Montana, give me a shout. I've got your back, Bob Hansen. Bob, I absolutely appreciate you and the time you took to share with us, all through me. And I agree with everything you shared. The way you shared that was new angle for me to receive and look at. And it does make sense to me now to look back. And the PTSD, I have a lot of friends and friends of friends I've met and heard all the intimate stories, know their lives, know who they are, know their partners are, know what they do. And I've known a lot of first responders. A very close friend of mine went through PTSD counseling, had to go away for weeks. It was a really bad time for him, man. I was there for that whole ride. And he did very well, found the right counselor, and he's doing way better. But I know of other people who suffer the same fate with PTSD, and they ignore it. They don't admit it. They don't want to talk about it, and they think they're okay, and they talk about everybody else as though they've got something wrong. But meanwhile, it's just hard and heartbreaking to listen to them talk and realize that they have deep emotional pain and they're suffering, and they've dealt with it in their own way on their own. But you can't hide it. You can't hide it from other people, that's for sure. It's a very unfortunate thing, the PTSD thing. And I've had a lot of experience with it with a lot of people that I know, friends of mine. It's a nasty thing. I don't know if they're listening to this or not. Probably not. Damn it, I was going to touch on something. I was trying not to forget. But before I channel off of this email, thanks again. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you sending that in. And if you want to email us again later on with anything that you feel may help the people, then please do it. All right? I forgot I was going to share something with you guys the other day, and I forgot to last time I was on here. Excuse me, but I promised you that I was going to share something, and I didn't. And I always do what I say I'm going to do. As a rule. After I saw and filmed a big bull elk a couple days ago on my own up in the mountains in the interior of British Columbia there, in the interior of Vancouver Island, I drove another mile down the valley, up the valley, parked, and I went to the bottom of the valley at foot. And I went down along the timber in hopes of maybe possibly coming head on to that small group of elk. But I didn't. I think they actually kept on going straight across the valley and up the other side. But as I was going through that thick timber, big timber, the whole way in, I had the camera going for a while. Definitely smelled some odd smells. I chalked it up to being the bull elk, but it's kind of different. But it wasn't rancid. But it wasn't perfume, that's for sure, right? It's just like, whoa, musky, whatever. It came and left 2 or 3 times. No big deal. Kept on moving forward because I'm so focused. It's one thing I found that when I'm nervous about an area, if I get onto or see a significant game animal, it takes me, I get uber focused on that moment. I get excited and all my nervousness disappears. I don't give a shit where I'm going in there. After that, I'm going to try to get a video or tag it or whatever. that's the mode I was in. And I went deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper in the bottom of that valley, in that thick, big timber. I was running the camera. And as I was moving along, I was starting to feel like, okay, I got far enough. Obviously, they kept going. And I turned around, or as I was turning around, and I heard a crystal clear hoot. Woot? 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 But it was 100%, to me, it was like human. To me, it was 100% human. Hoot or woot. And I instantly went, you can see I had the video camera running when I heard that. I went, oh. And here we go. Oh shit, uh-oh, that's not good. Which isn't good for me. I'm just not into hearing that shit. I don't want to hear it. Especially where I am right now. And the other shitty deal is it was back towards where I had to go back to get back to the vehicle. And I think I shared that on the video. So I'll admit it, as a insignificant piece of somewhat defense and something to keep me comfortable, I kept that camera recording. I held it right here, and I kept it recording the whole way out. I kept it focused on this side of the valleys, when it was the thicker side and where the side of that sound came from. And I kept it going, and I just marched my ass out of there on the way back, and then I smelled something, and I see you can hear me smelling it in the forest, maybe 50 yards shy of getting in the vehicle. And that was that. And then I thought, well, holy shit, that'll be something. I guess I could share that video clip with all you when I get home. And then I put it on the editing program. Yet this one, I heard that loud and frickin' clear. I put it on the editing program. Then I found the chunk where the audio sat. Couldn't hear it. Can't hear it. I hear something. I hear an odd distorted sound. It's definitely 110% isn't what I heard clearly with my ears. And then I took that chunk and I slowed it down 57% and I cranked the volume up. And it took me a while. It took me like 3 or 4 tries of cutting that piece out of the original clip, saving it, putting it over here. And 1 out of 3 of the exact same clip, unless I was screwing up, I don't know, but it was 2 distinct low growls when it was slowed to 57% speed. I'm like, what the hell is that? Weird. And then, so I edited up that clip. What I was going to do is going to let you guys hear that for hell of it, even though I know it is an absolute waste of time to share that. It just is. I don't give a shit what anybody says. It's a waste of time in reality. It's not going to help any one of us. It's just going to be us hearing a crazy, weird, alarming sound in the forest again. And that's as far as it goes. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to teach us anything. It's not anything. So that's why I struggle with that shit, because there is enough people out there running around holding on to a video camera, pointing at fucking everything. And it's, to me, it's I'm not into it. I'm not into it. I don't want to mimic that in any way. It's to each their own. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what anybody watches, listen to. When it comes to that sort of thing, I don't care what anybody intentionally goes out to create and video, record, and share. I don't care. I'm not into it. And I'm not that guy to do it as well. I don't need to do it. It won't do anything for me, and I know it won't do anything for you either. So, that being said, I did try to attempt to edit that up so I could share with you guys. And then I was just going to edit up, launch that, put that video on here as just its own video of me walking up that trail, hearing the sound, edit up the sound at 57% slower so you can hear what I hear. And then I'm going to let the rest of it play so you guys can look in the forest if there's people on here that are into that shit. And point out the dozens and dozens of Sasquatches that are going to be pointed out in the forest in the background. Or, who knows, maybe I did catch something on video, I don't know. Have I looked? Nope. Am I interested? No. Even if it's a clear face of one, I guess that would be kind of creepy to see, but in reality, I'm just not overly interested in it because I know they're there. I already know they're there. For me, I know already. I asked for them to leave me alone. I don't need it. Do you understand? So, maybe I'll try it to, and then when I went to export that on my program, the program crashed. Of course it did. it's time for me to get on the computer again to do this shit with. I gobble them up. It takes me about every 3 years I gotta get one custom built, but I think I might try a hop-top laptop this time maybe. But anyway, I'll do that for you guys if you want. If not, for all those who aren't interested in it, take from it what you will, or just leave it. Okay, just leave it. Like I choose to just leave it, whatever. But the thing is, I already shared it with you guys, so and I said I would load it, and for that reason only, I will. Okay, but I'm definitely not going to make a habit of it, and I'm probably not going to do that again, unless something really significant jumps out that a lot of you would probably be interested in seeing. So there. Bit of babble. I'm cross-eyed, freaking tired, and I gotta go. Maybe I'll try to sleep an hour. I don't know, but usually it doesn't do me too good. And then tomorrow we'll be back to a normal day, hopefully. And I'm gonna get a lot more voices shared, and see if my academic friends have sent me any more updates to help me put together the package of knowledge that I'm going to share with all of you. So there. I'll be back shortly.